So you've got your seeds germinating in starter plugs, and in just a few days, your little babies will spring forth and start reaching for the light. Soon you'll be ready to transplant them into 4-inch round pots. Here are my tips and tricks for transplanting made easy, and stay around to the end for a pro tip every new grower can use. I'm Dr. Judd with GreenCert MD, and let's get into it. In our last video, we went over the process of germination and my preferred method using starter plugs. If you missed that video, click here to check it out. And if you're new here, hey, take a minute, click like, smash that subscribe button, and hit the notifications bell so you don't miss out on any of our continuing Grow series or other great content. As always, this video is for medical educational purposes only. I am not diagnosing or treating any condition you may have, and please comply with all applicable laws wherever you may live. So after placing the seeds in the starter plugs, I've been keeping the tray under the dome, on the heating pad, and checking it daily to twice daily to ensure my starter plugs are remaining damp. Premium seeds such as these should generally germinate within 3 to 7 days. Once the seedling has broken the surface, I will continue to use Clonex 20 milliliters per gallon solution to keep the starter plug moist for another few days, checking daily or every other day for root exposure out of the starter plug. When that happens, it's time to transplant. In episode 1 of our series, I tried to cover everything you'll need to get your grow up and running. Well, as per usual with the best laid plans, I missed some stuff. So just to recap, here's a quick list of what I use to transplant my starter plug seedlings. First, I use Fox Farms Happy Frog potting soil. I also have 4-inch round pots that I've obtained from Amazon or a local grow store. I use a small plastic cup to pour my liquid in and to soak the plug before planting. I also have painter's tape and a waterproof marker for labeling. I also use Extreme Gardening's Mycorrhizae WP mycorrhizal component, as well as Clonex cloning solution. Finally, you'll need a gardening trowel, as well as a tray to place your transplanted plants on. I start by labeling my 4-inch round pot with the strain name. It is often a good idea to add the date you've transplanted the plant, just to serve as a reference when you're once again looking to transplant to a 1-gallon pot in a few weeks. After labeling, I will take my garden trowel and fill the container approximately half of the way full. This leaves enough room for me to fully bury the starter plug while still retaining a lip to hold water in when watering. I next take my Clonex solution, which, to recap quickly, started off as reverse osmosis or distilled water, to which we added 20 milliliters of Clonex cloning solution. I then used my pH meter and pH down solution to get the pH between 5.5 and 6.5, generally aiming for 6 to 6.2. I've been using this gallon to keep my starter plugs moist and still have about half left. What I'm going to do with this gallon is add Extreme Gardening's Mycorrhizae WP water-soluble mycorrhizae at the rate of 4 tablespoons per gallon, so in my case, I'm only adding about 2 tablespoons and shaking it up to make sure it's dissolved and evenly distributed. You don't need to be precise, just eyeball it. I will then fill this small cup about halfway and then soak my starter plug in the solution to ensure contact with the roots. Next, I take the seedling and place the starter plug into the center of the 4-inch pot and gently deposit soil around the sides. I will then use 2 fingers on each hand to gently compress the soil around the plug. I just want it to stay in place and not compact down so much when I water it. I will then add more soil around, even that out, and make sure the pot has a lip to hold water. I will then take that half cup of our solution and pour that onto the 4-inch round to dampen the soil around the plug, and then place that pot on a tray where it can get rid of the small amount of runoff. From here, it will go back to our tray and under the light, which in my case is a Sunblaster T5 that's continually on. I will finish out my current gallon of water, watering every other day or so. Stay tuned for our upcoming episode on watering basics. For the next gallon, I will increase to 40 milliliters and continue that concentration for about 2 weeks. So previously in this video, I added a water-soluble form of fungus to our solution for transplanting. Mycorrhizae fungus forms a mutualistic relationship between the fungi and plant roots. These fungi form a network of tiny threads, known as hyphae, that extend throughout the soil, acting as an extension of the plant's root system. So how do mycorrhizae benefit seedlings? First, mycorrhizae enhance nutrient uptake. The hyphae of the fungi have the ability to access nutrients that would otherwise be out of reach for the young seedlings. These nutrients are then delivered directly to the plant's roots, promoting faster and healthier growth. Mycorrhizae also improve the seedling's resistance to diseases and environmental stresses. The fungi enhance the plant's immune system, making them more resilient to harmful pathogens and adverse conditions such as drought or extreme temperatures. Finally, mycorrhizae play a crucial role in soil structure. As the fungi grow in abundance, they create spaces in the soil, improving its overall porosity and allowing for better water infiltration and retention. This means that seedlings can access water more efficiently and are less prone to suffering from waterlogging or drought. I typically use mycorrhizae when I transplant, and of note, Happy Frog soil contains mycorrhizae, though they list 15 different strains giving a total concentration of 86 propagules per gram. Mycos WP is one strain at a strength of 250 propagules per gram. Now, do you have to use it? Of course not. But since we all want to give our plants the best start right out of the gate, I figure it's a small expense well worth it for the potential benefits of a happier, healthier plant down the road. Another factor to consider during transplantation is humidity. Our seedlings have spent the last 3 to 4 days under the humidity dome on a heating pad. I now have to remove them from that environment to transplant them, and we want that to go smoothly. So my pro tip for new growers is to take a look at their dome after the seedlings have broken the surface. You see those vents? We had those just barely cracked for the past several days. Assuming a 4-day period from breaking the surface to transplanting, I'll now open those up to about 1/3 2 days before transplanting and about 50% the day before I transplant. You'll need to stay on top of making sure your starter plugs don't dry out faster, but we're dropping that humidity so it won't be such a shock when we transplant. Once you've transplanted into your 4-inch rounds, you could put them back into the same tray, starter plug insert removed, and place the dome on top, but set it such that there's a good gap to allow airflow. This will create a great environment with continued soil heat, decent humidity, and 24-hour light while we move on to the next step, which is getting that tent all set up. Be sure to check out our first video for our recommendations on tents, fans, and lights. And again, be sure to subscribe as our next few videos will be covering watering, nutrients and feeding, and lighting in more detail. Please remember this video series is for completely new growers, and if you have any questions or perhaps a great tip to add to help the community, drop those in the comments below or consider joining our Patreon. So great job, you did it! In just 7 to 10 days, you've gone from having seeds in a bag to having some seedlings in a 4-inch round. Before you know it, they'll be almost as tall as you are, start acting moody, and just want to play computer games in their room all night. Oh wait, those are my teenage kids. So we've successfully got some plants growing, and now it's time to prepare for the vegetative stage, and that means mastering the arts of watering, feeding, lighting, and environment. These stops on our cultivation journey are just ahead. So until I see you again, puff, puff, and pass it on.